In early 1943, inside a dusty hangar in Australia, a 50-year-old pilot was tearing apart brand new American bombers, not repairing them, not upgrading them. He was ripping them apart. His name was Paul Irvin Gunn, but everyone called him Pappy. He was not a factory engineer. He was not a famous designer. He was not supposed to be doing this. The aircraft he was dismantling was the B-25 Mitchell, a medium bomber designed by American engineers in California, built by massive factories in the United States, and shipped thousands of miles across the Pacific. The Army Air Forces had spent millions of dollars designing the aircraft to drop bombs from medium altitude, using carefully calculated aerodynamic principles and official specifications. Pappy Gunn ignored all of that. He removed the bombardier's compartment, he tore out the glass nose, he stripped the aircraft down to its metal skeleton, and then he started installing .50 caliber machine guns into the nose. Not one, not two, but a wall of forward-firing guns. To the bureaucrats in Washington, what he was doing was vandalism. To engineers, it was sacrilege. To officers, it was a violation of every regulation in the book. He was modifying combat aircraft without authorization, without blueprints, without approval. He was rewriting the purpose of the airplane in a remote Australian hangar. If the wrong person had walked in, his career would have ended instantly. Instead, something far more dangerous happened. A general walked in. General George Kenney, commander of the 5th Air Force, looked at the disassembled bombers, the improvised gun mounts, the unauthorized modifications, and he didn't stop it. Kenney understood something the procurement officers in Washington did not. High-altitude bombing in the Pacific was failing. Japanese ships were escaping. American bombs were missing. The war of supply was being lost. The B-25 was designed to drop bombs from thousands of feet in the air. Pappy Gunn was turning it into something else entirely. A flying gun platform. A ship-killing predator. In that moment, inside a dusty hangar far from the factories that built the plane, the future of Pacific air warfare began to change. This was not a story of official innovation. This was not a story of engineers in white coats. This was the story of a man who broke every rule and was right. And the aircraft he was creating would soon become known as the Commerce Destroyer. Pin 1943, the Pacific War was turning into a brutal test of innovation. American bombers were powerful, but they were also predictable, and predictable pilots died. Most commanders believed in high-altitude bombing. Fly high, stay safe, drop bombs, return home. It looked clean on paper, but in reality, it didn't work. Japanese ships were fast, agile, and well-defended. From high altitude, bombs missed again and again. From medium altitude, ships simply turned away. Millions of dollars in bombs, wasted. Then came a man who didn't care about doctrine. His name was Paul Irvin Gunn, but everyone called him Pappy Gunn. He was already 50 years old. In aviation terms, that was ancient. Most pilots his age were behind desks, but Pappy was still flying combat missions, and he hated rules. Pappy believed the problem wasn't the pilots, it was the airplanes. The B-25 Mitchell bomber was designed for level bombing. It carried bombs in its belly, had a glass nose for a bombardier, and relied on precision instruments. But Pappy saw something different. He saw a flying gun platform. One day, without asking permission, he ordered his mechanics to tear the nose off the bomber. The bombardier position, removed. Bombing equipment, gone. In its place, he installed heavy machine guns. Not one, not two, but a wall of guns. Now the B-25 wasn't a bomber anymore. It was a flying battleship. When other officers heard about it, they were furious. This was not how the Army Air Forces did things. He was wasting time, breaking doctrine, and modifying government aircraft without authorization. In another unit, Pappy Gunn might have been court-martialed, but his commander was General George Kenney, and Kenney was different. Kenney believed war was a laboratory. If something worked, it didn't matter who invented it or whether it followed the manual. So Kenny gave Pappy Gunn one simple order: prove it works. Pappy didn't waste time. He took his modified B-25s and sent them down to sea level. Not 10,000 feet, not 5,000, 50 feet. The pilots could see the waves. They could see the faces of sailors on Japanese ships. They flew so low that spray hit their windshields. And when they opened fire, it was devastating. Hundreds of bullets per second tore into ships, decks, bridges, and gun crews. Then the pilots dropped bombs that skipped across the water like stones, straight into the hulls of ships. This was something the Japanese had never seen before. Suddenly, Allied bombers weren't just dropping bombs. They were attacking like fighter planes and naval artillery combined. In March 1943, this tactic was tested in one of the most important air battles of the Pacific, the Battle of the Bismarck Sea. Japanese transports were carrying thousands of troops to New Guinea. If they arrived, the war in the Pacific would become much harder. Pappy's gunships attacked at wave-top level. Fighters covered them from above. Bombs skipped into ships. Machine guns shredded everything that moved. By the end of the battle, most of the Japanese convoy was destroyed. Thousands of troops never reached the battlefield. The world had just witnessed a revolution in air warfare, and it all started because one man ignored orders. But Pappy Gunn's success created a new problem. If low-level attack was so deadly, why not use it everywhere? There was one target every commander dreamed of destroying: Rabaul, a Japanese fortress city on the island of New Britain, a massive harbor packed with ships, aircraft, and defenses, a place many believed was impossible to attack directly. And now with Pappy Gunn's gunships, the Allies thought they had a chance. But Rabaul was not the Bismarck Sea. It was a death trap.